So I was sick for the last 24 hours, but I don't actually have a lot of code. Actually, you know what? I could throw up some code. So we're gonna do that really quickly, just right off the bat, just so like you at least see how I'm showing code at the point. But this is actually just the ETO file as well. So as you can see, I'm just gonna scroll down really quickly because there's not really, there's not much to show. I do have to actually enter down because of the way I put OBS. But otherwise, if you want to pause and look at anything at any point while I'm scrolling, even that 1 second flash at the very beginning of the ETO file, then so be it. But otherwise, this is the whole ETO file. I do have a lot of placeholders left, right, and center, and then a lot of things also left empty, which, for those who don't know, I guess is your tip for the day. You can leave things empty. It's often better to omit them if possible, but note that I swear some lines you omit off ETO files, whether you're using PERM or you're not using PERM, can crash the game. So, I'm shrugging in real life as I say, do whatever works, really. But otherwise, as we resume back to the game here, yeah, we're just going to hit random and move on with life. So, just showing off the PERM version, if nothing else. But also interesting to note the number of custom cards that we have. Shrug, that's the end of the sentence. So as we get into Herald, Eldritch Parasite, Mimi, man, what a run to have to do some more custom content. Although the main difference you saw if you did see the code at the very beginning, which was not on second one, as we get second encounter, dexterity, light, charisma, knowledge, maybe a strength check, every single stat check, but is that I moved the events to the correct order that they'll be in if I ever release this mystery, or basically when I complete it. So, yeah, that's all we really have. Now, I am going to be throwing a boss fight into my own template as well, but I'm going to shrug again as I say, I think at some point I want to leave a boss mystery behind. Or at least make it completely optional at the player's discretion. So, we're looking for template here. I could just look for it on the thingamajiggy, but I didn't because I'm lazy. So instead we have cicadas, coma, template, nails, and mermaids. So we take template first. We have like 2 or 3 boss mysteries, maybe. I don't often take mermaids as a boss, so really it should be minimum 2. I'm losing my mind already. But we're going to be sitting here fishing for a while, so I don't really mind. So, I'm still going to prepare to open up the funds, but right after that, I am going to see... I'm actually going to check the History Club 2 more times, just to see if we can grab a thingamajiggy, although the rock ring is pretty cool. But, if we can get anything else, it would be great. We're not healing reason, so first aid is a dead perk on Eldritch Parasite. And one last thing to do is to go check the police station. Do we have anything? I went over the mysteries and I always promptly forget. Cicadas, I'm in template now. Mermaids, I don't think we have a real hospital mystery. High threat level downtown though, so that I will put the patrols in. Maybe we visit the seaside a few times, but if that's the case, we shouldn't need to worry about Doom as much, maybe. We'll find out. The run's just started and there's a lot to see. So, keeping in mind we have Mind Drain though, so our max reason is not great for the damage we want to do. But at the same time, we need to remember that we have a bit more stamina to work with, especially if we get our knowledge and our strength to 8, considering that we can get a thing. Now, I do need to succeed one of these luck checks at some point, so I can show you the difference, but since I want to go through things, I think there's another side of just going through and not always trying to... How do I want to word what I want to say? Basically trying to force an outcome just to show you something. I think it's also important to naturally try to show you something, like just as it is, especially for someone who has bad RNG, when I say that I have bad RNG, then I can show you that every time I fail that luck check, basically it's leading me to believe that I might need to add maybe another custom event just to kind of control what happens when you have bad RNG. But as we end the mystery here, because that's supposed to be the last one, yeah, maybe I add another event. So maybe I space out the linked events more, or maybe I add another part to that failure in that one event. That way, I'm not forcing you into a second or third linked event, or make the mystery a bit longer. But I would rather do something else. Actually, this bottle is doing nothing for me. So instead we take the experience and move on. But yeah, things to note. It was something I was thinking of aside from me just going through, because I always think of... I try to think of what happens if you have good RNG and bad RNG in the extremes. Now, obviously, there is a point to kind of just looking through things half and half, like what happens when somebody is 75% lucky, what happens when they're 25% lucky. Getting the middle ground too. You can't always work in the extremes, which is something that I often do, just in general, when I'm thinking of game dev stuff. But in the case of custom content, it's also important because someone could just be unlucky over and over and over again, and therefore, I can't believe I did entertain the thought of locking something out behind a success or a failure in an event in World of Horror, which I don't think you should often do, unless it's something that, how do I describe this, is not as influential in a mystery, if nothing else. If not just the run, but you get the point. If it's not as impactful to the run, then I don't really mind if it's left to RNG, much like a lot of World of Horror, or just any other game that's roguelike leaves to RNG, because I do think most video games that introduce RNG, I need to level up by the way, most games that introduce RNG, I'm deciding what I want to take here, fine art knowledge, forgot I was going to say for the moment. Yeah, most games that introduce RNG do allow you to win a large majority. I would say like 80% of the time at minimum with the right strategy. Now that being said, that fluctuates, and I'm sure a lot of them are on the lower end of that spectrum, but I would still say 80% just based on what I know. Now, again, this does not include human error. If we include human error into that calculation, oh, we do have coma, by the way, so hospital investigations, but if we include human error, then obviously you're going to win not even maybe 50%, probably like 20-30%. But again, that's kind of counterintuitive to what I'm trying to conceptually, convey to you, which is the topic of RNG and what happens when you are and are not lucky. So I normally try to exclude human error because basically the more you expect people to play your game to be able to play your game. So I don't... I don't think I'm saying what I want to say right. But you develop a game, at least gameplay-wise, for someone who's going to play your game for a long time. Even if that is just a story-based game, because a long time in a story-based game means they're playing through the whole story. Also, handcuffs. But I think we're okay here, right? We can use the corpse dust to level up. I think I would prefer that, so I can at least... level up and get extra accuracy. No, we go for knowledge so we can get 8 knowledge, 8 strength, and then I can keep talking what I want to talk about. But yeah, you make things for players who are interested in game. Lo and behold, like having a target audience helps, because I think that is part of the target audience argument. But at the same time, yes, you do push back in the other way and say, what if I want to market it to more people, basically, market a game or some kind of content to more people? Then yes, all right, you do end up wanting to maybe ease on some things or not. Again, this is entirely based on how a developer wants to develop a game. Oftentimes, I feel just if we're to take a general account, I would believe that most developers do try to be more focused on a target audience than try to develop for a broad audience. Again, this depends on the game. That's kind of a very, very blanket statement that doesn't cover a lot of the fires that happen, but that's a sentence to say. But I think you understand what I mean. You can succeed and fail both ways. You can go towards a target audience, and one example is you completely miss the mark. I'm thinking of a very specific example when I mention this sentence. Or you can make a game for a broader audience because maybe you're making a game in a long line in an IP, and so you decide, okay, now's the time we want to try and bring in a broader audience for the second or third or fourth part of a game. Again, I'm thinking of very specific examples, but I want to say them out loud just in case I make a mistake. But because I don't know if it's entirely true or not, but I do think conceptually what I'm talking about is true. But so as we kind of rewind all the way back to where this talk kind of started, the inclusion of RNG and whether or not that's, I guess, if you're trying to fuse this topic together, it's that introducing RNG and thinking about the gameplay balance of how, some players are going to be lucky and some players are not going to be. I think that fits in both sides of, hey, what the target audience can be someone who's very, very lucky, or it can be, you know, can include people who are unlucky. Again, that didn't completely, this topic didn't completely go the way I was thinking of, but it's perfectly fine. But if there's nothing else that, I mean, I think 9 out of 10 times I do consider RNG when I am making something, which, again, to rewind all the way back to the beginning of this forest where the topic started, is the custom event, or the linked event that I did for template is basically now based on RNG, which, to see an outcome that I may want to see, which is not often good, I feel, especially if it has to contribute to an ending. Now, that being said, do we have any RNG ending A's in Base World of Horror? I'm trying to think. I think technically there... yeah, theoretically there is, because of, I think it's footage. You would want to grab the... I'm deciding on whether or not I want to take burns. I think I can take the burns here. But, yeah, you have to get a light source, and you're not... Funny enough, as funny as it sounds to say, you're not guaranteed. No, you're not guaranteed to get a light source, and you're not guaranteed to get fuel. No, I'm thinking fuel, not light source. Light source is household hell, I think. But, and you also need an ally, I think. But, for footage, you need fuel, which, if you've seen me long time ago, when I was, you know, going for ending A for whatever reason, I couldn't find it. So, and I spent like 16-20% Doom. So theoretically, I was going to get the fuel and get ending A. But if I wanted to complete the run and survive, it's less likely. Anatomy class. Yeah, I think anatomy class is just the go-to here. And let's actually get rid of these burns. So, we do want to put the patrols in the school to try and save on Doom. We don't actually need to when I think about it. See, because all the threshold I'm looking at here, so there is something to say. I often think about it, but I don't actually say it out loud. So something to think about, so this is your base World of Horror advice for the day, is whether or not you want to put police patrols on a high threat level location to remove its... to remove the penalty from one location. So in this particular instance, this is the perfect example to kind of use a specific comparison. But so downtown was at high and hospital is at max. If I have the Doom to spare, there's no point putting patrols in the hospital because I'm still going to take the penalty. And then that would leave the high threat level penalty in downtown. But if I put the police patrols downtown, I will not be taking the penalty from downtown because I'm already going to be taking the hospital in, taking penalty damage in the hospital, no matter if I put the police patrols there. Now, if there were another way to lower the threat level, fine, so be it, right? Probably like invisibility, and we're on Ath because it would cost Doom at that point. But again, this is kind of theoretical topics. Also, I'm sure that I just went out of my mind talking about the topic of RNG right into target audience talk, but please let me know if you have any thoughts on the issue, because I'm sure I stumbled on my words at some point. It's not even late at night at the time of my recording here, so I didn't need to brace there either, so I'm definitely not thinking correctly. But we have 64% Doom, and all I need to make sure of is that my stamina or reason are healthy. And I just realized there's no point of me saving Doom, because I was thinking of resting at the lighthouse, but we're on an Eldritch Parasite run. So we don't get to rest. So instead, we do. So your second piece of base advice for the day is escaping for Doom can be a replacement for resting, especially on an and particularly in an Eldritch Parasite run, certainly, because, well, you can't rest and recover HP. So we should be able to survive no matter what. That's the takeaway. That's the practical takeaway here. But I think you get where I'm coming from. And if that doesn't make sense, I don't know how to explain it at the moment. My mind's going too crazy. But basically, yes, you can't heal for Doom, so you might as well use that Doom somewhere else to indirectly save you or mitigate damage by, well, not taking damage. It doesn't matter here. I guessed 25%. I literally just guessed. But yeah, not much else to say. I didn't actually work on much, obviously, if you look at what happened in this episode and the recent episode. But again, I have some stuff on my plate, and I was sick for like 12-ish hours. So without further ado, I'm doing okay now. If you're worried about me, thank you very much. But you do you, I'll do me. And if you have anything to say or any questions to ask, you always know what to do. Otherwise, not going to take much more of your time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!